Right. Interstellar. We had a kind of a brief look and sort of went on a mission type of thing in the creative mode. Um, Now I'm just going to quickly deal with starting up normal and actually designing a ship and so forth. Uh, Under player options, of course, is where you can set yourself up. Um, However, we are going to connect to our local server where we are a member of the Drifters, and we are going to get started with a little bit of basic design. Those things that are necessary for a highly functional ship. Um, what we do is we start off in what is known as room mode. Then you've got this sort of blocky interface. This is where you will draw your initial room into which you will place devices. The rooms are listed over here. These are also the names that will appear on doors. I'm going to rename the first one. I'm going to call it the bridge. Um, then I'm going to switch to the prop edit mode, which is F2. I'm going to go to cockpits, and I'm going to take the little small one, and I am going to position my cursor so that it snaps into the right position. And there we go. Now we're going to design a slightly multiplayer ship. Um, so we're going to take a look at weapons. I'm going to add on a turret. I'm going to put the turret right there. I'm also going to go on and put a torpedo launcher where we want to have a console on the right. So there we go. The torpedo has very little on the outside. It's just the inside that takes up a bit of space. And that's where we're going to load the 4 torpedoes on, and obviously we'll be standing here and we'll be interacting with that screen over there. The next really important thing, and we kind of focused on the combat side of the ship first of all. There are a whole lot of messages all down the side over here which are highly relevant, but we'll get to that somewhat shortly. Um, the next part in the combat is an ammunition loader. Now, we're going to put some guns on the outside of the ship, but we're also going to deal with the inside of the ship first. Now, the outside guns in this inside turret, which we have placed, this multiplayer turret where somebody has to climb into and manually control the guns. That will allow somebody to shoot, and they can use exactly the same ammo. So we only need one ammo loader. One ammo loader is required for each ammunition type. And sometimes you want multiple ammo loaders just simply because of capacity, the ability to always keep firing, um, or virtually always keep firing, because you can keep one fully loaded when it runs empty. You don't have to wait while it's reloaded. You can start using the next ammo loader, and meantime, this one can be reloaded. So we have that. The other important part is putting on a shield. Now, here I'm pressing the left and right arrow keys just to rotate it in place so that the little console, that little blue over there, is facing upwards where we can access it. Then there is one other item required, which is an armor generator. It's not strictly required, nor is the shield strictly required, but it's highly recommended. Okay, so we put down this little small armor generator that takes nanobots. Now that will allow the ship to repair its own armor slowly. Um, you get three types of nanobots. The more advanced ones are much quicker and that sort of thing. We're not going to do any of the other things at the moment. We could put in a small CPU weapons provider, but that doesn't have to be here. But it won't really fit in nicely anywhere that we've got here. And it could be in any other location on the ship. It's not something you particularly need to access, nor is it something that can be damaged. You can have only one CPU provider. Um, so you can get a small, you can get a medium CPU, and of course you can get a very large CPU weapons provider. Now this will provide 375 weapons CPU points. This one will provide 275 and this one will provide 175. So there's a sort of an increase of an extra 100 points of weapon CPU. Now, so far, we've put down a turret, which costs no weapons points, and we've put down a torpedo launcher, which does cost weapon points. Now, I'm going to press F4, where I'm going to go into power group edit mode, but under that is this tab, which is weapons. And that then goes ahead and shows us all of the things that we have on this. So we have these particular items over here where we are using on the default group, clicking on it. And by default, it gives the default group the name default group. And this part doesn't work too smoothly. It's actually pretty good to keep default groups named default group. So you'll see that the shield generator consumes 25 points, the torpedo launcher 20 points, the small armor generator 15 points, and the ammunition loader 5 points, and the human control turret none. So we've already used 65 out of our 125 points. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump to external mode, which is F3, and this just shows us the crude exterior that we have at the moment. But that's good enough for placing some initial things. So if we look on external mode under weapons, there's a light pulse laser, a light autocannon. This uses cell ammunition. This uses bullets. This is an EMP generator. This is a small mounted gun. It also uses bullets, but this one is only forward firing. So these are mounted forward firing guns. Okay. Now these ones use 20 CPU. So do the light autocannons. Now these light autocannons can actually rotate slightly. They pretty good as far as that's concerned. Now, if we take a look at that, we have a message over here: small CPU, insufficient CPU power. Now that will be because we actually haven't put our weapon CPU down. What we could do is we could go and slot it in there. Um, Now that will give us sufficient room to walk past. We can walk past and access everything that we need to access. So that is a usable spot. And well, why not leave it there? Now, if I go back to the weapons groups, I go to weapons, click on default group. We're using 145 out of 300. So if we don't have the weapon CPU, we've already got a default amount that we can use. So let me remove that. Let me go back to this section, weapons, default group. And you see we come built in with 125 points. But if I put all of these things down, I have more than what can be utilized. So if I went here and turned off the torpedo launcher, for example, suddenly we just perfectly matched. Everything works. Um, the problem is, of course, that we can't use our torpedo launcher. But what we can do here is we can add on another group. And this one we'll call torpedoes. I'll just call it torpedo. So if we go and look at this, what's very, very important is to make sure that the torpedo is in the group, that the shield is in the group, and that the uh, ammo, armor generator is in the group. We don't want to switch those off. If we change from this group to that group, we want to make sure that at least those things stay on. And then the whole purpose for existence is the torpedo launcher, so we naturally put that in the group as well. Now, we are also going to make sure that the turret, which costs no CPU, is in that group. But the turret wouldn't be able to fire unless we include the ammunition. So there we go. We've put everything in those groups and we've got a little bit of spare power. So, well, we can start adding things back in. I can add in 3 of my 4 guns, but I can't add one more in. So one of the guns have to be left out. So in the torpedo mode, you've got 3 external guns plus the player in the turret. And in default mode, then we will have the 4 guns, but we won't have the torpedo launcher. So that's a very good use for these things. We could get slightly more fancy, which, well, seems we're doing a tutorial-ish type of thing. Why not do that? What we'll do is we can put in an EMP pulse generator. Now, that would have to sit, well, we can potentially move that. We want to maybe put in some good-looking things. Let's take a look. If we put that there and we put this here, it's going to have a kind of an unbalanced look. Maybe if we put that there, we take the EMP pulse generator. The EMP pulse generator is kind of like a different thing. It kind of fires an EMP pulse in a circle. So it doesn't actually need to face the front or be seen from the front or whatever. But it might not look too good there. We might go ahead and move it. Now, of course, we're immediately going to hit problems because our weapon group has got way too much stuff in it because we've got a new EMP pulse and a flak generator on it. So here I'm going to add in another weapons group, and this one I'm going to call EMP, and this one is going to have all of the basic things that we have to have. It is going to have the EMP pulse, the whole reason for its existence, and it's going to have some of the guns. Once again, we can put in 3 of the 4 guns. I'm going to create yet another weapons group, and this one is going to be called flak. And that's our flak cannon over there. So we want to add that into the group. Naturally, our shield and armor generator, our ammunition, and we're going to once again want to put some of our guns in. However, this time we can only use 2 out of our 4 guns. But there's something much more important as well. This uses a different type of ammo, and as a result, we need an additional ammo loader. Okay. Now we can kind of make the flak one which we utilize left off, and that'll be under number one, number two, number three, number four. So you press 1, 2, 3, 4 on the keyboard to switch between those groups. So when you build the next part of the ship, we must put in an ammo loader and add it to that weapons group. So let's go back to room mode, which is F1, and let's add in a new room over there, and let's kind of make it a little bit longer. This is the look of our ship on the outside, F3. So long we've got a kind of a long sausage shaped type of thing. Back to F1, let's actually take a look at making this a little bit wider. F3 external view, once again, we can see that. Back into this one, let's give a name to this room. So we click on it, and then we go over here. Let's call this one mining, because we're going to do a little mining ship to start off with, because we want the ability to obtain the sort of starting resources that we need. So let's take a look at the mining items or resource items that we need. If we take a look here, there's a very important one, the extractor. Let's actually start with something else. Very important that we have a doorway between these two. So if we go to doorways, we have quite a selection of doors. We can use this one, which is a very round type door. This one is a more sort of house type door, arched doorway, flat at the bottom. This one is sort of round on all the sides type of thing. This one's also just sort of a less armored looking version of the door. There is no difference between these two doors. They have a massive 200. They have, exactly all those details. This one costs an extra 50 iron. Okay. This one over here, door type 3, is the round one that I was thinking of. This here is a double doorway. This is too big for our use over here. This one's kind of like an internal door, which is something that has a glass doorway and is very, very workable. You can either have a left opening or a right opening for the doorway. Here, the door is on the left and the little window is on the right, and vice versa. I actually like the look of this sort of door over there. Why not let's use that? Okay, so the next thing, now that we've got our doorway sorted, this doorway will also have written up here the name of the room on the other side. Naming our rooms, that automatically gives us the labels on the doors. Okay, so we were talking about resource collection. This is an extractor. This is the thing that will teleport goods onto your ship. Now you will see I can't place it, and the reason I can't place it is kind of shown in red there. It's because this is 2 stories high. If I press page up, I go to the next level, and I can see obviously, this one wants to extend upwards, and there isn't room. Now what I can do is I can unlock the room creation. Now what that means is that there you see a little plus symbol shown. And those plus symbols mean if I place it here, it's going to add on room space as needed, which is fine in this particular case. So then we have this one. Let's see how that looks. Actually, let me take that out. Let's possibly rotate that. Think of the way that you're going to approach this. What's going to happen is you come through the door, and right at the doorway is the little stairway going up there. So you're at the front in the cockpit, and you're scanning the asteroid field, and you suddenly spot a valuable asteroid on your scanner. Now you want to run to the back and quickly pull it in before you go out of range. So having it fairly close is a very good idea. Having it right at the door, yeah, actually makes it, you've got to open the door and immediately turn right. What I'm going to do is I'm going to place it back there, but facing this way. So this is how you're going to walk up. I'm going to press F1, jump up to this over here. Now I'm going to hold down the right-hand mouse button to go into delete mode, and I'm going to remove that part of the room which was added when I had it rotated differently. That'll be a good start. Now, there are two other things which are very, very, very useful to any ship, and that is a salvage unit, which I'm going to place here, and I'll show you why here in a moment, and a disposal unit. Now, the disposal unit, I'm going to knock this guy further back. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put the disposal unit over there as well. Now you'll see the outside of the disposal unit is that's where you're going to drop things out of, and this is the salvaging part. It looks like a sort of a grinder type thing, and that's where you pull things in. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these, I want resources, I want the extractor, and I'm going to place the extractor one further back. We'll come and tidy up the top just now. Let's not worry about that for now. Now, that's a fairly usable layout, but if you go in and put a few cargo pads down over there, that gives you the ability to store some cargo right there inside the cargo deck. Such as, for example, this cargo pad I could use for drones. Drones, which I'm going to use for defense, which I'm going to pick up and I'm going to eject them out of the ship so that they can then be utilized here. And so on. So anyway, there we go. Those are the sort of important, useful things that we have. Now this area over here is going to be quite underutilized. We're not going to use that very often. So we can make it a little bit more awkward by stealing a little bit of the space of the walkway. So you've got a much narrower walkway. And putting another two as a sort of a half cargo pad. Now this could hold 4, but 2 stacks high, so it can hold 8 different crates. This can hold half of that, only 4 different crates, 2 and 2. Now that will do for that. We then want to go along and we're going to put in a little. Let's make the ship a little smaller than. Well, actually, let's put a large cargo pad here. Now I can't put that right here. Now I'm just going to show you something. If I place this here, this doesn't want to place, mainly because it's being interfered with by the salvaging unit. So the salvaging unit is preventing me from utilizing this because, well, they're trying to occupy the same space. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and try and place it here, but it's also still too close. What we could do is try placing it at the back here. So let me add on a little bit more room space there. Let me go back to this. Let me go to cargo. Let me go here. And there I successfully placed it. Let's have a look at our ship from the outside. Now there's nothing wrong with placing this in that shape. We could come and put some cosmetics over it and cover it completely so it's entirely internal. But anyway, that's a very functional device. It can hold 300 different cargo items versus 8 that you can load into this one over here. And it's very handy because it's got a kind of a little index there on that console, and you can see what you want, and you can pull it out and all that type of thing. Okay, so we've got that in there. The next thing that we would do is we are going to put in a little processor for resources. Now, there's a large refinery and there is a small refinery. This one over here, you'll see in the requirements in the top right hand side of the window, it says 500 iron, 500 copper, 500 silicon, and 2,750 steel. We do not have silicon when we start off. This small one does not require silicon, so that's going to be our choice. I'm not going to put it there because it will block the stairway, so I could put it right there. Um, let's see. Let's build a really small little ship. You know, let's put it there for now. So we've kind of cut that off a little bit. Um, and right, so we've got that. Now, we already have a bit of a second floor, despite these little sections over here, which are not really a factor. You go down. I successfully deleted the small refinery there. Right, there we go. Everything else, I didn't delete anything else. Right. Now, obviously, we need to be able to reach this. Standing down here at the bottom, obviously, we wouldn't reach that because, well, this is in the way and it's actually there. So what we're going to do is we're going to add in some second story stuff here to this. In fact, we're going to fill in there and we're going to fill in over here as well. And we may as well fill in there. Let's see how we utilize it. If we don't use it, we can get rid of it. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do is we're actually going to need to put in walkways or suspended ceilings as such. Now we could put the ceiling in, well, it's floor, it's not really a ceiling, but obviously from down below, it's used it as a ceiling. And well, why not? Let's use that. I tend to use the transparent ones, but there's no real reason that I have to. So I'm clicking, dragging, and you can go the mouse cursor. Now these types of floors, you can place them on top of ordinary floors as well, when they are floors, not when they're walkways. This is a standard floor, and I think it's this one that looks the same. I can place that over there, and that's just a cosmetic item. It's not entirely just cosmetic because it actually has got 20 iron and it's got a mass of 20. So it adds to the ship mass, but it also adds just a little bit to the whole strength of the ship as well. But it also gives some uniformity to the look of the ship. However, we've got a particularly serious problem in that how the heck do we get up there? So we're going to need some stairs. Now there are some very wide and fancy stairs. There are some sort of narrower and fancy stairs. There are banisters, so you can kind of put this stairway over here, and then you can add a banister on the left and the right and all that type of stuff. Or you can use these, my kind of favorite, which is actually these sort of half stairs. Now, this one over here will allow us to still access underneath it. We can still get past to work on that machine. We couldn't put it there because it's going to clip into the other one. We wouldn't be able to fit in it. We could rotate it and come and walk up this way, but I've always found that to be a little bit awkward. If we use one of these other ones. You'll notice that this one starts at the edge of the square, and this one starts halfway through the square. This is slightly better because if I had this one, I'm kind of blocking my walkway towards the salvager, which I don't want to do. So I'm going to place that floor over there. Now we've got another problem in that this, and this is in the way because you're going to bump your head if you have those. Now here's where I find that the walkways actually work quite well. So what I'm going to do, actually, just simply because I like these so much, I virtually always use them. So I've removed those floors. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use these little half-sized girder floors. And I'm going to do the same thing over here, a half-sized girder floor. So there we've got that. I'm zooming in and out with the mouse wheel. Here I'm going to use a full-size girder floor over there and there, and here, and all the other places. So it's going to be here, and it's going to be there. Right. Now, there's a little gap left there, but here we have a little piece that we can fit in there, and if we rotate it with the arrow key, use that and place that there. That's quite adequate. But of course, you could come walking over here and just fall down the stairs, which is not entirely appropriate. So what we can do is we can use a fence to stop us from doing that. However, we would need to utilize a appropriate sized piece of fence. What you do is just grab the different ones. You'll see they all position differently within the squares. Um, so they all perform a different function. So I'm going to take that, put that there, take that, put that there. Now you'll notice that it's actually, let me just right click outside of my area. I don't want to right click here because it will delete what's under my cursor. You see these gaps, these unsightly little gaps. If you go to the pillars, there are some little pillars which you can use, which can fill in those unsightly gaps. So I'm going to take those ones, I'm going to take that one and that one over there, and then I want a little corner one, which I'll rotate in there, and then I need a center one, which I'm going to rotate in there. There we go, that's appropriate. You right click again, take that out. That is an appropriate looking bit of wall. Now we could also walk up here and fall over the edge here. So once again, let's grab our little bit of fencing, and we're going to fence off that area and that area. And then once again, I'm going to grab the pillars, and I'm going to grab the corner pillars, and I'm going to place them in all of these locations. There we go. Okay. So again, right click to clear my cursor, and there is a pretty adequate upper floor. So, what are we going to do with all this extra space? Well, we've got a whole lot of things that are missing still. And let's start with the fairly important one, which is life support. You're going to need to live aboard this ship. You're going to need oxygen and temperature control. Now, this oxygen, this sort of life support system provides a small amount of temperature control suitable for small ships. Once your ship starts getting bigger, you will actually need a dedicated thermal control. This thermal extractor would need to operate. Even like this, it's possible that this room could get a little bit toasty when this extractor is running, but it shouldn't get too hot. If you're running the extractor in this machine and some of the other machines where you're running them all at the same time, they all generate heat. And they'll raise the temperature, but they won't do so in an extremely dangerous fashion. So, right, we put in some life support, but there's no way for this life support to supply air because we've got no fans. Now, I'm a great fan of floor fans. And so I'm going to put one there and one there. And you'll notice one of our error messages have disappeared. There's now sufficient ventilation in that room and in this room. Okay. Now, we've also got no engines, no maneuvering thrusters, and no teleporter. Now, the no teleporter is quite important. Um, so I'm going to go to the systems, um, which is this little section over there. And here's a small teleporter, and we can squeeze it into that little corner over there. So when you come aboard the ship, that's where you're going to appear. Then you will have to come around here, down here, through the door, into the bridge. If you are assaulted by another player, and the player successfully hacks your shields or knocks your shields down and disables them, and it successfully hacks your teleporter, you will be able to he will be able to board your ship, and if he does so, this is where he's going to board your ship. I often put it in a dedicated room, but for a little tiny starter ship like this is quite sufficient. Um, so that there will get us. Um, what I'm also actually going to have a little look at, um, I have got this little small CPU, and I have a torpedo launcher in here. I've got the small system. I've got the salvager. I've got that. Um, what have I got here? Why am I getting a warning that I'm using 250 silicon? Where on earth am I using 250 silicon? This does not use silicon. That does not. That does not. The small CPU doesn't use silicon. Um, the small refinery doesn't use silicon. The extractor doesn't use silicon. Nor, ah, of course, it's our weapons, our external weapons. I forgot. The EMP generator doesn't. The flak cannon does. It uses 250 aluminium and 250 silicon. We can't put that on. We can't afford it. But we can put let's just press the arrow keys to rotate that. We can put the EMP generator on. The EMP generator, as you will see, is 250 iron, 150 copper. Okay, so those are the resources that would cost us right now to build our ship. But of course, it won't work on drive. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to these weapons. I'm going to go to the flak group and I'm going to press minus to delete it. I'm going to go to EMP and I'm going to add EMP on. I'm going to go to default group and remove EMP from there. And all of my groups are now fixed up again. The EMP pulse generator doesn't use any ammunition. It's an electrical pulse. Somehow I've managed to add on a different room. Where have I done that? Room 2, there isn't no room 2. Let me delete that. You want to remove that? Yes. Because I only have mining and the bridge. That's correct. Okay. Fix up those little things. It's also a good time now actually to press escape and to save my blueprint. Now, don't type up over there. That's the search bar. You've got to type over here. This is the name of your thing. And what we'll use is we'll call him Tubby, sort of a little bit to do with a YouTube, whatever you said. We'll just call him Tubby. As a little fat little ship. Okay, and we save our blueprint. Okay, so just in case something goes wrong, something crashes, we are killed, or while busy editing, or anything goes wrong. Okay, so we've got those things. However, we have a serious problem in that we actually have no fuel tanks. And of course, that would be a highly critical error, and we need to rectify that immediately. There is also a cargo teleporter, which is very, very handy to have right next to your big cargo container. So I'm going to place that there. Additionally, I'm going to put in another system right here. We'll come back to the fuel in a moment. I want to put in an assembling machine. An assembling machine will allow me to make things like ammo and so on and so forth. In addition, we're going to add in one more little item, which is a 3D printer, which allows us to make little things that we use. Now that one can actually tuck in over here. Um, that's just where we stand and where we insert things, and this is where we take things out, but there's nothing actually sitting here, so we can use that spot right there. However, as I said, this area here, that might have, let me just get rid of that, right. There we go, back to F2 edit mode. Okay, so now let's go and take a look at our power systems. What we've got with our all of the problem, because we need a fuel tank, first of all, and we actually need some generators. Um, so we don't want a large hydrogen tank or a medium hydrogen tank or even an extra large hydrogen tank. We'll go with a little small one for a start. Now this will be very difficult to fit into a usable position where it's not going to block things off. We can put it there, but I know that we need a number of other things. So what we're going to do is we're going to expand this area, press F1. We're going to expand this area to at least there. And what I'm going to do is press F2, go back to this mode, grab the small hydrogen tank, and I'm going to pop it in behind here. Now what we also need to do is we need to put in hydrogen generators. Now hydrogen generators generate approximately, well these ones generate specifically 150 electricity per second. Okay. It also generates 5 heat per tick. Um, so if we take a look, let's take that and let's put one over there. Now I know for a fact that that's not enough for our ship, but let's go and look at that. If I press F4 and I go to power groups and I take a look at the default group, that tells me that my drain, okay, things like my small fuel generator has got a drain, essentially 150. Now, that would be quite a problem because that's all of the power, the total power capacity of our existing system. So we'd be able to run the shield and nothing else. However, this is actually the amount of maximum power that it would draw. When it's fully charged, it would utilize less. The small armor generator, can store up to 500 power, and it uses 40 while it's doing the nanobots and things like that. So this drain is a little bit of a peak type of performance. And in fact, just from experience, I know that if I add in a second, I can even add in a third generator. If I've got the 3 of them like that, I'll have more than enough power to operate. That'll be 150 plus 150, that's 300, that's 450 power. And it tells us, if we press F4 and we look at that group, it tells us we could require up to 628. But I know that we're not going to need that. However, we have a basically functional ship now with those things. But
we would be well benefited by adding in a little bit of battery storage. And we can put in a battery there and a battery there. It would also do us well to put in a capacitor or two. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to nip down to the bottom here and just see if there's a spot. Like right here, we could put in a capacitor, and we could put in another capacitor there, and we can fit in another battery over there. Now the batteries are very good because you can run your generator full tilt and all of the excess power will go into your batteries. And then when you don't have enough power, you will be able to withdraw power from your battery. Okay, so this can be charged at 1,000 power per tick or per second, but it will only supply 300, so it's got a limited drain. Whereas if you take a look at the power cell, it's got a capacity of 50,000 power, whereas this one has got a capacity of 1.5 million. This one has got 50,000 power, but it's got no limit on discharge, so it can give you all 50,000 power, whack, just like that in one hit. Okay, so why would we need that? Well, we don't, actually. If we went and modified the ship a little bit further, which we might do, let's take a little look over there. Let me remove those. That was two batteries there. And if we installed a little rift system, a little rift generator, we could fit it in here. But in fact, it would probably be much more useful if we removed that, went back to power, took those little hydrogen generators, and if we put one there, and then we put our rift generator right here. Now, that would be much more accessible, much more usable. We actually got a lot of wasted white space over there. However, we'll have a look at how we utilize that. So let's put in some batteries over there. Now I could go and I could add in more batteries, okay, and I could just go fill up the area. But if I get enemy attacks, I could need to get to those and to repair them, and I don't want to try and squeeze tightly in to get these things all the time. But what we can do is we could come over here and we could say, well, we could put another battery over there behind that door, and we could put another battery over there. Now, that would still allow us room to walk past here and room to walk past here without much of a squeeze. A little bit tight there, but nothing crucial. And those batteries are very useful in buffering your power production and power consumption and providing a little bit of smoothing together with your capacitors. So we've got two capacitors there. What I'm actually going to do is I think I'm going to put in a third capacitor. So we've got three capacitors down there, and we've got four batteries, two batteries, two batteries. Now, if I do spot another place that would be handy for batteries, I might put them in. We could put another battery just there, or we could put a battery there and there and there. They're not particularly expensive, 250 iron, 125 copper. So let's go and do that. So now it's a little bit tighter walkway. It's kind of, single passage, but it's by no means too tight. I could even go in and fit some batteries over here and make it, quite a tight fit through this area. But I think let's leave a little bit of room for running around. It's a little bit more functional. Okay. Once again, escape. Let's save our vehicle and our ship design, and let's put that there. Now we have got no engines and no maneuvering thrusters. If we press F3, go to external mode, This is where we are going to add our engines. Now there are various size engines. There's that size, there's this size, and then there's this size. Sorry, that's the same size. Let me get rid of that. And that size over there. And obviously they all provide differing amounts of thrust that provide, decreasing amounts. The most important thing to do is look up over here. This is our maximum speed. If we add this on and we attach it there, we have got a maximum speed of 30 meters per second. That is way too slow. What we really want to do is we probably want to go something like this. And 340 meters per second. It's not blindingly fast, but it is entirely adequate. Now you will see there's kind of gaps and floaty bits here. This is meant for us to go along and take some cosmetics and kind of make the ship look a little bit more acceptable by covering this up and all the rest. But I'll leave that as an exercise for you. Those are long. They take a long time and they're quite finicky. What I am going to do is I'm going to go back here and I am going to put my EMP generator back in because we subsequently added a floor and removed that. So I have to go F4 again, go back to my weapons group, go to my default group. Oh, we wiped out our guns as well. So we got a lot of repairs to do. EMP must add that. Torpedo there, default group mustn't have that. And then what we're going to do is in external mode, let's add our light autocannons back in. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put 2 below and 2 above the cockpit. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take those and I'm actually going to put them a little bit higher over there. So we're kind of going to shoot a little bit from above and a little bit from below where we're sitting when we're sitting in the cockpit. F4, go to our weapons group. That one's fine. This one isn't because we could fit in, those guns as well to get to 125 CPU and EMP pulse. We can do exactly the same. So that over there, don't forget to sort of deal to that as well at the same time. Right, now we fixed everything except for maneuvering thrusters. Maneuvering thrusters are placed in external mode as well under engines. You have maneuvering thrusters. Now these little thrusters provide you with turning ability. It actually doesn't matter where you place them or what the orientation is. You can use them regardless. There is a mirror mode that you can use when you're designing the ship, which you can. I forget where you access the jolly thing. I think it's in. Oh, I can't remember. Oh, here it is. Here it is. And you can decide how you're going to mirror the ship, and it's very useful when you're trying to do your cosmetics. Now our turn rate is 0.34. We're looking for about 0.8 for a ship like this. 0.7 is very nice. 0.8 is better if you expect to. That's 0.95. It might be a touch high. It's not bad, actually. I can leave it at 0.95. Escape, save, save. There are no more errors. There's nothing that we've forgotten on our ship. We've looked at our ship. We've put in the necessary things. We make sure that we can access everything. We have one item missing. Only one thing. Lights. We've got no lights. This thing will be pitch dark. So what we need to do is we need to go to furniture. And there are ceiling lights which we can use, and they are very good. And what I like to do with the sort of service ceiling lights, and there's a few different variations, play around, find something that works for you. What I'm going to do is grab the service ceiling light. I'm going to place one there. and I'm going to place one there. Did that place? There we go, it's placed now. And then likewise I'm going to place one there. I'm going to place, oh no, that one won't go there because there isn't a roof. But this is a hanging light. This framework light is a hanging light. So what we can do is that will kind of fit in there quite well. It will fit in there quite well. No, it sticks out a little bit, so let me right click to remove that. Let's see. Let's put one there. That'll give us a bit of light. We might struggle to fit all those lights in. What we can do is we can put little lights in here, which let's put one here in the middle of the floor. We'll put one there. We'll put one that goes on the edge, in the middle edge, and we'll put one there. Actually, we don't need that because we've got that overhead light right there. But we definitely want a bit of lighting here. Here I probably want a corner light. Put one in the corner there. I might... No, I think that's enough. It's not going to be very well lit, but it's not going to be super dark. Upstairs is, of course, still naturally very dark. But here I can use ceiling lights. So I'm going to put one light there. And then I'm going to do a light there, 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 and I think I will do one there. Did this one place? I didn't think that placed. Right, there we go. That should be sufficient for us to have some somewhat decent lighting. You can replace these little pillars with these little lights. So if I right click and I remove that pillar there, and I take one of these little lights over here, I could put that in there as well. And they work as both a pillar and a light. Kind of handy. Okay, once again, we've got a good set of changes. Let's save that. That is what it's going to cost us to build this ship. Ugly little thing, okay, no cosmetics done on it, no painting, no colouring, no internal colour schemes or anything like that. I mean, you've got a lot of colour palettes that you can use, and you can, you know, colour these things to your heart's content. I'm just going to go back and colour it back to default. Play around with that. It's not going to change the function of your ship, but you'll feel better about it. Okay. Save whatever changes we did there, and we're going to exit the ship editor, confirm. Now, here we are back aboard the Black Pit, and we want to build our ship now. So our little ship, what did we, Tubby, I forgot its name for a second. Now, we're going to try and build Tubby, and lo and behold, we are short of 4,275 copper and 5,750 iron. Now, having just started off right fresh, we have 250,000 units of money we were given. So, we were... there's been a kind of a little bug I've noticed in the game. I'll kind of mention it to you. When you've been in the ship editor, for some reason, excuse me, when you come out, sometimes this door behaves funny, and you can't open the door, but you can walk right through it. The game's kind of lost sense of what's going on there. Sorry, clearing my throat a bit there. Right, now what I'm doing is I'm running down to the back here. I could go and mine those resources, but I can also go here and I can just purchase some scrap. So I'm going to buy all the copper that they've got, 3,310, and I'm going to buy the steel scrap that they've got, and I can say... I can only hold 2,400. We'll buy that. So let's take these pieces of scrap. Open the door. Right, there we go. Run up the passageway. Open the door. Run up there. Around the corner here. And let's bang 8 into there. And let's start processing that steel. That's going to make steel ingots. And then we'll process that's the first one. Second one's processing done. Put that through. Take that. Okay, and there we go. Let's process the balance of that over there. Okay, pick those up and then process. What happened there? Did I cancel it or something? I didn't process it all. Never mind. Pick up the balance. I did something funny. I must have clicked on it. Right, process that over there. Now this I go and I place into my vault with the E key, depositing it into my item vault personal. And there we go. What I'm going to do is I'm going to run down to this thing. Oh, that door's and it looks closed, but it isn't. I'm going to click on Tubby again, and you can see we are still short of 3,350 steel. So I'm going to go and buy another 3,400 steel. Damn, I keep trying to open that door, which is bugged. 3,400 steel, so let's come here. There's the steel, buy, and we will go here, 3,400 buy. That's going to cost me 44,000. Now I could go and mine it. I will show you the mining again. I did in the other sort of introductory episode show that as well, but let me do this here. Okay, I've added those all in. Pull these ones that are already processed. There's the last one. And then process all of that steel. Right, I'm going to grab these lot, shoot around here, and I'm going to pop these into storage. If we go and have a look now, we should... I'm trying to open the door again. If we go to Tubby, click on it again, look up at the top there, we're still short 956 copper. What we'll do is we'll mine that. We're still short 1,550 steel. We actually probably had close to enough steel. But anyway, we bought a bit more and processing it. So we got a little bit more than what we needed. I forgot that there was some in the machine, so I bought a little excess. Right, so let's go and check now what do we need to do to make our ship. If we click on Tubby, look up over here, it's 965 copper. That's it. Then we can, I keep trying to open that door. So we're going to go up to this extractor. We're going to take a look at the asteroids around us, and we're going to find ones with a nice amount of copper on them. And there happen to be some that have got just copper on them. No iron, no nothing else. Okay, but actual fact, it wouldn't be bad for me to grab one of those with some iron as well, because I do want to make sure I've got some spare iron, because I want to use that to actually make some nanobots, which require iron and copper, and I want to make them rather than buy them because it's significantly cheaper. So there we go. Let's go there. Let's grab that one. That's got 300 odd. We'll just queue up all of these, whichever ones are still in range at the time. We'll grab that because we also need to make fuel. So let's schedule those for extraction. They'll probably all be out of range. So now we're processing the iron ore, the copper. Let's pop these into here. Pressing E, shove them in ore. Let's process the copper. Up here. Pick that up. And really very simply with the starting material, I could have bought the copper that I needed. I could go and buy the fuel that I needed. I wouldn't have to sit here and harvest this. I could have just gone and bought the stuff and built my ship. But this kind of gives you an idea of what you can do, and it's highly recommended that you do this method. A significant part of the fun of this game is actually designing and building your own ship. Just remember, when you get started, you're not going to design USS Enterprise. You're going to build a little ship at the start. So 2, 4, 6. We'll just take what we got. So now what I'm doing is I'm mining water. That's so that I can make fuel and oxygen. We need oxygen because we need to breathe. Ooh, I've got 2 stacks here. Pop those in. Queue them up. Process. Pick that up. And let's go and dump these into our vault. Done. Shoot through that door before it closes. I've got these various rewards and so forth. You can go through and read these things, and eyeball what you're receiving, and who's giving it to you and all that type of stuff. But that's not really necessary for this. Note that you'll get a little bit of extra free money and credits and stuff like that. Nothing major. Except in 1 or 2 cases, actually, you do receive a fairly decent amount. I'm going to make 3,000 there. Grab those, put these away. Put those there. Come back quick enough before the door closes. Grab that. Let's do some more. And I'm just going to leave it at that. Okay, that's going to be it. I do want to make, just leave that there. How we're going. Okay, I'm running ahead of things. Let me process that into hydrogen as well. There we go. Now, what I'm going to do, leave that to collect that water. I'm going into here. Keep opening that door. I go here to Tubby, click on it. We have enough. The difference is I will have 50 steel to spare. I bought 50 too much steel, so it actually wasn't quite as excess as I thought it was. And there we go, build. Now what's happened, we get a little message will pop up in the right-hand side of the screen, a sort of a notice, player ship Tubby in range. I'm opening the door. Okay, so let's go here. Let's pick up this water. Let's go, I'm going to hop over the edge here. You don't get fall damage in this game. It's sort of really focused on your ships. What I actually want to do, remove that, make 1 stack of oxygen. Then I'll put this in. What I'm going to do is I'm going to run upstairs. I'm going to take this and I'm going to put it onto the cargo teleporter. I'm going to select our ship. Then I'm going to select the hydrogen tank, and I'm going to send it directly into the fuel tank. So now the ship will actually be powered up and the shields will start coming online. Okay, that's the oxygen. That's this hydrogen. We do not have sufficient hydrogen. Okay, but don't forget, we have one of these extractors on board our ship. We are right outside here. We are right next to the water asteroids. We can actually mine the rest with our ship. So there's no super duper reason for us to wait here any longer. Now, the only thing which we don't have is we don't have ammunition. Now, we could buy some ammunition, or like we looked at last time, you can pick up some nitrous oxide and buy, let's go and say 2,400 nitrous oxide, which is going to cost me 93,000. Okay, if I press tab, I've only got 162,000 left. But I'll be able to make a good amount of ammo with this as well. So that actually reminds me, let me see, I want iron and copper to make ammo with. So there's 1, 2 copper, 1, 2 iron. I'll grab it. Oh, I want to pick this up as well. Let me confirm that, and then I just want to grab that and that as well. There are some other things that we want as whoops, I'm really trying to go down the stairs where there aren't any stairs. No, I don't need anything further from the shop. I think we are good to go. So let's teleport aboard our ship. And here we are. As we can see, our generators are working. Our batteries are busy charging. So we are obviously got a little bit of fuel left over. If we press X to see the status, here is our oxygen. This is the temperature in this room, and oxygen is dropping. Obviously, we do not have oxygen in our life support system. So, boom, we pop that in there, press X, look at our oxygen is full. Okay. We'll see our fuel tank, however, is not full. But here we've got enough lighting. This is what we've built. This is what we've made. It's quite simple. It's quite quick. It's all very, very nice. It's lit well enough. I think everything's pretty kosher. Right. I've put in 2 stacks of iron and 2 stacks of copper. That's 2,400. Empty shells that I'm going to make. So let's start making that. That's our ammunition. I am going to pop onto our extractor. I'm going to suck in a little bit of water. These things can move around while you're trying to click on them. Double-clicking them cues them up. So, we've got that. There's a little bit of extra fuel in my hands. Let me go around this corner. Remember, we made it quite narrow and windy there. And here's our fuel tank. Let's insert some fuel there. Right, let's take a look at this assembly. We can actually store these 4 nitrous oxide in there. Right, so that's busy. In fact, it's just about to spit one of those out. So let's take that out, pop that back in. That is together, this and this allows us to make those. How do I know all these things? Where can you find them out? Press press tab. And then up in the top corner is the encyclopedia. And you can go and search something like ammo. And you can say, well, how do I make ammo? Well, ammo is made with 2 shells, 1 nitrous oxide will make 2 rounds of standard ammo. Well, how do I make this? Click on it. 1 iron, 1 copper will make you 2 standard shells. So there's everything you need to know. How do I make iron ammo? I need hunter biomatter. How do I make improved ammo? I need all of the above plus brass. How do I make advanced ammo? There's no recipe for it. Only Sentinel Security Systems sell advanced ammo, and you have to buy it with cash. Okay, So that is one of the things. The other thing is, let me just grab that, take that, put that in there. And now we're going to queue up 2,400 of those. So we've got some ammo and we'll be able to load our guns in a moment. There's nothing else on hand. We've got everything done there. Let's pick up all the water that we've imported. Whoa, I missed the stair. Okay, let's pull in another one. And then I'm going to scan for, and I'm going to pull in this asteroid, and then I'm going to pull in a couple of copper ones. And then let's pull in another one. We may or may not get these, or they take a little while to come in, and they can go out of range in the time that, where am I going? I want to process that. This is our little processor. It holds 8, just like the other one, but the output is limited to 2 at a time. One sitting there and one in the queue behind it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to make a lot of hydrogen, because yes, we want fuel. We don't want to run out. Now you will notice that our temperature is now high. Let's press X. Let's take a look at it. It's over 50 degrees. Over 50 degrees, you could start taking damage. And that's because I've got this running, I've got that running, I've got this running at the same time, and our ventilation life support system is just not handling it. We've made none of these torpedoes. They're also not particularly hard to make, the basic torpedoes. So if we go here and take a look at torpedoes, the standard torpedo is just iron, steel, and nitrous oxide. And it's 40 iron, 30 steel, 60 nitrous oxide, one standard torpedo. So we could make some. We do want to make some nanobots as well. However, let's just keep a look on our temperature. Temperature's rising here. We really are hammering all the devices at the same time. Right, so that's no longer working, so that's a little bit of I got a fright with that. Looking at this, kind of paying attention to the temperature, thinking, oh, am I going to take damage? And at that moment, bang, bang, bang goes the gunfire. Yeah. Yes, well, I hope you had a good laugh. Okay, I'm going to store this ammo over here. Let's go and see if this fits in. The temperature is dropping, by the way. It's going back down because this is no longer, this assembler is no longer running over here. We're not making more ammo, so that's idle. So, yeah. Hydrogen. Let's insert that into the tank, insert that into the tank. We could still fit another 2,000 in. Let's take a look at what else we got here. I don't see any more there. Let's pull in a little bit of water in that. Right, so that's done. I'm actually going to make a little spare oxygen at the same time. I'm going to turn that into hydrogen. This we're going to refine. And that's it. And yeah, we have a basic little self-designed ship ready to go, take missions on. Yes, it gets a little warm at the back. Press X now and the temperature will be dropping again because this machine has just stopped. Obviously when the extractor is running at the same time as this guy over here, yes, we are going to get a little raised temperature, but it's not super critical. Anything over 50 degrees Celsius will eventually start damaging you. There is some armor that you can wear, that you can make on the printer upstairs, which will provide you with radiation resistance. Becomes important when you get to nuclear reactors and nuclear power. But for the moment is not a factor. Let's watch our temperature. Yeah, it should be fairly stable with just the one machine running. Okay, let's pop that in and that in. That's it. Let's make the last of the hydrogen. Clear that out the system. No, I'm not going to store any there. Let's go and fill in the tank. Notice how our batteries are filling up. You can see the visual indicator. Right, let's put those 2,000 in and 250. This can hold 10,000. This little bar over there kind of shows us. I've pulled out a lot of hydrogen there. Now we've got none. You can see that visual bar tells you at a glance from across the room how full your tank is, whereas you can only see those numbers when you get close. But it holds 10,000 fuel at maximum. Okay, it sounds like this guy down at the bottom might have finished. He was stalled because I had some copper waiting to be removed. Okay, the last thing I'm going to do is then kick off some iron production, and then we're going to make some nanobots using the assembler upstairs. Let's just clear out the last of this water. We actually don't have much spare fuel, but that's not crucial. We're in a starting area. We're just starting our brand new ship. We're armored up. We're pretty good. Let's keep the spare oxygen over there. Let's keep some spare hydrogen over there. And let's keep this. I'm going to throw. Let's go here. Put that in. Put 2 stacks of copper in. This should be finished with the first one and the second one. The others are coming, running around upstairs. This is the shortest way. I've got to learn the new layout. We just built the ship. I don't know it. And what we want to do is build those nanobots, 1,200 nanobots, which is 2 stacks of nanobots. So there they've been made. I'll pop out there shortly. And that guy generates a bit of heat, but it's stable because it's the only one that's running. So our temperature is not climbing. Okay, that's us. This is spare. Now, when I've got partial stacks of things, I have a tendency to put them on these cargo pads, and I only put full stacks into here because it's much easier to consolidate. Here's our standard nanobots. Grab the first stack, the other one's been made. Take these, put those in. There we go. We're functional. We've got shield. Shield is full, 10,000. We've got armor. Our armor is full. If we come and look over here, it shows that we've got 25,000 out of 25,000 armor. The only thing we don't have is torpedoes. We're ready. We're mission capable. Let's press 1. There's our default group. 2 is our torpedoes. 3 is our EMP pulse. Let's go back to default group 1. We can press H to activate our weapons. We are in a no firing zone, so I'm going to turn them off. I don't want to accidentally fire the weapons and get a fine for doing so. These are the capacitors holding 50,000 charge, and they can instantly discharge. Here is our system, which we haven't looked at. We are currently in Scaverian. Scaverian is just a solar system which has got a number of different things, and we can say, well, what is in the system Scaverian? We can highlight it. It says, well, there's iron, there's water, there's copper, there is nitrogen, there is carbon. If we go down here, that's beryllium, that's gold, and that's silver. And that's like a 2% chance, 2% chance, 7% chance, 20% chance, 20%, 70%, 90%, and 90% chance of water and iron. So there's a very high incidence of certain things. The drifters have the highest influence in the system. The scroll down near the bottom have a very low influence. Sentinel security systems, the sort of sworn enemies of the drifters, have no influence. Now there are, you will notice, there are other factions here, such as, for example, this one over here, which is the Voltron. That's the banking system. Hydropex, Logical, these are non-player corporations that exist. Hurlsco, that's a player corporation. That's the enemy faction, the Scroll. These sort of half biological enemy that float around in space. This is how we select different jump points. So we can go here and we can say, oh, we want to jump there. Now that's another system. What I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom out up to 10 zoom levels. If I go 12 zoom levels, everything disappears except the basic star systems, the 4 basic ones. But if you look here, these are all the systems. Each one of those is a solar system. Each of them is explorable. Each of them has different resources. And each one of them has got to be jumped to. In order to get to that system, I would need to jump here and then there. These ones that are in red and they have some numbers, these are tier 1 system, a tier 2 system. And this one over here is a tier 3 system. Tier 3 systems are too lethal for us at this stage. Things like gases and other more exotic things, crystals, very valuable, and so forth, are found in those sectors. This is the home sector, Alpha Ventura, of GT, which is Galactic Trade, the other player corporation. HSC, that is Hurlsco, the mining company. This is Sentinel Prime. We cannot reach Sentinel Prime in one jump. We would have to jump to Vectron 6 and then to Sentinel Prime. Sentinel Prime is the home of Sentinel Security Systems and Scaverian, and each one has its logo next to it. Those are the 4 basic systems, non-PvP systems. You'll see they're PvP enabled in Tier 2. If we look over here, Tier 0, PvP disabled. If I look at this Tier 0 system, it's also PvP disabled. Tier 0 systems are starter systems. And that's it, ladies and gents. That's us, a fully functional ship capable of jumping, although we need jump fuel in order to do so. I will press tab and quickly take a look at the encyclopedia. Xanthium fuel, which is made of 1 beryllium, 1 deuterium, 100 nitrogen will make 100 xanthium. So 1/100th of that, so those are very rare parts, but the main constituent is nitrogen. Then you get dixanthium, which is made out of xanthium and increases its power by 100, requires mercury, and tetraxanthium requires dixanthium, it increases, that increases it by 1,000. This increases it by 500, but it requires osmium, again, and more nitrogen. So this is for heavier and heavier ships. The actual container or crate of xanthium weighs 320 kilograms. A crate of dixanthium weighs 580 kilograms. A crate of tetraxanthium weighs 1,120 kilograms. All of these are factors, and when we have a look at rift drives and so forth, that will be something we can eyeball. But here's our little starting ship. There's us traveling. I press tab to get into mouse steering mode. Tab, and I'm out of it now. I can look around. I can, target things and so forth, and all the rest. I press tab. Now I'm in steering mode. So what I'm doing now is just going back there. I'm going to target the black pit and its little asteroid field, 2 kilometers away, 1 kilometer away. Don't rush in and bump it. It's not good for your reputation. Escape. We are close to the station, close enough to teleport across to it, which I will promptly do. And that is us with one final little thing that I'm going to show you aboard the station, and that is safely storing your ship. And, wrong side, I need to go out this way. They look very similar. Down here at the bottom, you have a thing called a Storotron. This over here, Storotron. And you can go here and you can store your ship. So there's your ship in space, and you can store it. That ship is now stored safely aboard the station, untouchable by anybody. No enemy can blow it up, nothing, it's not using power. It's on ice. Okay. You receive a little message just to remind you where you stored your ship. If you've got multiple ships, and you will have multiple ships, you make a fleet, then you might sort of forget where you stored various ones. In addition, there are some very expensive components which you can put into some of your larger ships, which will allow you to store a ship docked aboard your much larger ship. That ship that you store cannot weigh more than 250 tons. 250 tons is the storage limit. I think that is the storage limit, if my memory serves me correctly. The default storage limit. You can edit the server parameters to change that, but hey, I like vanilla. There are also things like Rift cartridges, which are cartridges you have to install into your Rift generator in order to access Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3 systems. You can buy one which has got about 2 or 3 jumps left on it for a Tier 1 system for 90,000 over here, which is actually a good buy, so I'm going to go ahead and buy that. It's quite a rip-off price. You can make your own later. Can you? I can't remember now. Can you make those? I can't remember. Rift. Yes. Rift generator cartridge T1. Yeah, these are not stuff you can make yourself. No, you have to buy them. You buy them from Logicorp. Logicorp sells brand new ones at very decent prices. Here, they will sell you used ones, and they will also sell you unused ones over here at 250,000. But I need more reputation in order to be able to do that. I do not have the correct tier to purchase Rift Generator Cartridge T1. So, that's it. Ship is stored away. Everything's safe. I can now go ahead and exit to menu, and everything is done. We're done. I think that's a good little intro between the last video I made and this one. Between the two of them, give you a good little overview of the game. The other one we ran some simple little starter missions. There are many missions. We didn't travel to another system. We didn't jump through a rift. We haven't looked at that aspect. We haven't, had any dangerous battles. We haven't dealt with PvP and hacking and some of the more exotic weapons that you have. We haven't dealt with gases and gas refineries. We haven't dealt with nuclear power. We haven't dealt with drones, large drones, which require a humongous drone bay on your ship, but which can automate your mining for you. There is a lot more depth to the game, but it's a good intro. Ladies and gents, thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. If I have earned a subscription, thank you. That's also much appreciated. Have a good day further. Bye-bye.